representing Franchise Secrets, Eric Von Horn.
Hey listeners, if you're not in the Franchise Secrets Facebook group, what are you waiting for? It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Now, this is a large community of franchisees, franchisors, buyers, sellers, anybody that's involved in franchising in any way. It's the community to go to. Ask your questions, get answers, help people out, and get help. It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Welcome to the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Eric Van Horn here with the Franchise Secrets Facebook group. What I was doing a few weeks ago was I finished up a mastermind session, and then some of the members stayed on Zoom and we went live into the Franchise Secrets Facebook group. And we had some great discussion about, do top performing franchisees really follow the system, or do franchisees really just follow the system? And does that really make them successful? And we had some questions that came from the group. It was just a really good session, very authentic, very real, and yet very productive. Because it's easy when you get a bunch of franchisees together just to start bashing the franchisor, or if you get a bunch of franchisors together to start bashing the franchisees. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle. It's balanced. And I think what you'll find in this session is a very balanced conversation around franchisees' success, and is it due to them following the system. I hope you enjoy. All right. So here we are live on Facebook. I said, did a post earlier, and I said, what do the top franchisees do basically differently than everybody else? And there was a lot of good comments in there until Ryan Casey dropped the best comment in there, which might be somewhat controversial if you're a franchisor. But you also know it's absolutely true. So he basically said they don't necessarily follow the system, and there's truth to that. But that comment by itself is not completely accurate, as both Ryan and I know. So we wanted to provide some context to it. But you see some other folks on the live with me. Obviously you see Caleb, we got Yoel, and then there's some that are just their pictures are up. We just finished the Franchise Tribe Mastermind session. We talked about, it was amazing. Talked about using influencer marketing. I got 2 pages of notes: local, hyper-local influencer marketing and Facebook groups. So we're going to be doing 2 masterclasses on infiltrating Facebook groups, which I didn't think there was a way to do it until I actually found out there's some really good ways, ninja ways to do it. And then we're going to be doing a masterclass for the mastermind on influencer marketing. Guys, it's not as difficult as it sounds. You just need to be talking to the right people. And we definitely did that today. But so that's some of the faces that you see on here. They stuck around for us. So Ryan, I guess before I get to Ryan, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Caleb is hopefully monitoring the chat and will be texting me because I can't see anything. So, Ryan, what did you mean by your obnoxious comment in there, just trying to stir up stuff? What did you really mean by that?
I'm just the rebel here. No, the question that you posted, where what sets top franchisees apart? What's the biggest thing that makes somebody a top franchisee? And I was really surprised to see how many people said they follow the system. And then I think it was Linda that finally commented, everybody's saying that. Is that really it? And you know what? I don't think that's the thing that makes people the top person. Now, if you were to ask me, what is something to do to make sure you're not on the bottom? That would be a great answer, right? Yeah, you follow the system, you're not going to be on the bottom. That's why you buy into a franchise, right? But if everybody just followed the system to the T and that was it, there's not going to be a lot of innovation and everybody be at the same spot, right? It's about the execution of that, you know, and I'm Orange Theory franchisee. I love Orange Theory, but there's things that I didn't follow, right? When we started, the sales process was a notebook. You log it in a notebook. And if everybody followed it to the T, we'd still be using notebooks. But no, there's a lot of franchisees that are like, hey, we got to start using a CRM. And eventually it picks up to where now there's a corporate CRM, right? Orange Theory took ownership, but they did it because enough people were doing that on their own. They're saying, hey, let's take ownership of this. But those ideas initially came from the field.
So I would say that I agree with everything. New franchisee should probably just execute what the franchisor says in the beginning. And I've been guilty of not doing that. And I've done it. And I've always done better if I've done what they said to do. So what would you argue with that? Would you agree with that? Or a little bit more commenting around that?
I would say wax on, wax off before you do the crane kick. That's basically it, right? Now, in some cases, though, like I came from a sales background, so I wasn't going to wait around for it. Like we dug into sales, and they're not going to kill me. Orange Theory, I don't think, has a problem if we try to upgrade on their notebook, right? But it wasn't like we were changing the templates of the workout or things that I have no idea or no background about. That would have been a totally different story. But I do agree, basics first, follow the program. And then as you master areas, look for how you should always be asking yourself, how can I make this better? How can I look it better? And if there's something that's too off the rails, then have a conversation with your franchisor before you try it. But if it's not, then go for it.
So best practices. So everybody, franchisors, if you have more than 50 franchisees, you know that your top franchisees are not just following the system. A lot of systems are designed for the average so they can just simply execute it. So top franchisees know this, really good franchisors know this, and the best franchisors help their franchisees innovate or learn from them. They may not know everything that they're doing to innovate, but there's a relationship. So when there is innovation that happens, there's a level of communication that the franchisee can go to the franchisor and says, hey, X, Y, and Z is really working for me. And a good franchisor will be like, tell me more, and then test that out a little bit more and take that to the entire system. So Ryan Casey or Yoel, do you have any examples of that in your brands that where that's happened?
I think Yoel is the perfect example. I'll let him take it over. I'm sure in Mosquito Joe's, they didn't give you in the part of the franchise template, here's all the things you do on Google My Business. And that's something he's taken kind of himself. And now he's kind of the expert in our group. So Yoel, tell us about that stuff.
So Yoel is the expert in our group on Google My Business. He's helped the mastermind out a lot. He's very, very knowledgeable with it and is actually doing what he teaches people. So go for it, Yoel.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So I think definitely if you're starting a franchise, this is kind of a double negative, but don't not follow the system and complain when it doesn't work, right? So once you follow the system and you get some success, now you can start to kind of play with the system where, West Virginia customers for Mosquito Joe are not the same as Miami, Florida customers. So I got to change my marketing depending on my region. So that's what I'm doing. Starting with a Google My Business, I started to post regularly where the franchisor that's not really a strong point for them, where, it was mandated for us to do. We're mandated to do other marketing stuff where we're having to pay for direct marketing, and that's fine. But on the local side, which is more important to me, is I got to find where my customers are, right? Got to find where they are and start posting there. And Google My Business was a big part of that. So that's why I focused a big part of my business onto Google My Business.
Awesome. Okay. So Ryan, you come from a sales background. You were the worst sales, probably the worst sales guy until you learned from Cutco, which has some of the best training in the world on sales. And so I know your story, and you've helped a lot of franchisees that are in the mastermind and out of the mastermind with their sales processes. And from Massage Envy to Orange Theory franchisees and all over, help them refine their sales processes. So better than most people, some franchisors don't have the best sales process set up. So how do you, as a franchisee, implement different sales processes that might be better than a franchisor's sales process?
Well, you know, I don't really think it takes too much away from what the franchisor gives us. In most cases, it's not, I'm not going to do what the franchisor is telling me. It's, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to go a lot further than what they give me. Right. And so I always say the franchisor does a really good job of usually giving you the what, right? Here's what you're supposed to do as a franchisee. Here's what you're supposed to do for your sales system. Where a lot of times it's lacking is the training on the how and the whys and really digging in. And that's where, at least for my sales especially, I was able to come up with kind of a basic sales outline that can work for pretty much any business. So you don't have to change what your franchisor is telling you, but you can go a lot deeper in training your salespeople on how they're supposed to execute it, why they say this instead of that, and what's effective. And this, I think, is the whole underlying topic, is you don't necessarily have to not follow the franchisor, but a top franchisee is going to go above and beyond. Right? That's what's going to make somebody at the top.
And Ryan, I love what you said there, because the why of a business is so important, but it's different between everybody, right? But if you're a local business and your why is out in the world, it's a big difference from finding a regular business that you're going to do business with versus a business where you know the why of the owner. It just doesn't add up. The why is going to make so much more of an impact on your local community than anything else.
Yeah.
So let's get some questions here. Ryan, as I'm starting to read the questions, tell people your website, how they can find you, because like, seriously, you've helped so many people with sales. So tell them while I'm looking at some questions to answer.
FranchiseSalesTraining.com. So
All right.
I'll put the Black Friday link in there too.
Caleb, can you put the Black Friday link, or Ryan,
I
whoever?
Just put it in there.
So the question, one of the questions is, in regards to some parts of the business model, is realistic, as in paying managers $60K a year from the start. That just doesn't work. So unfortunately, part of this is validation. This is where you find those things out. It doesn't always happen or uncovered in validation. So I want to get to that. But if that is, you've got to figure that out in validation first and foremost. And again, I understand, especially first-time franchisees or looking at franchises, they don't validate certain things like that. And that's a very good question to ask. Are you paying your managers what the franchisor says you're doing? If you're not, why? And what are they doing? Or is it another question with that is that a unicorn manager? Guys, when you're looking at franchises, sometimes it's a unicorn that you're validating with, and that's not always good. So, so now you're a franchisee and you are finding out that your payroll is a lot more expensive than it needs to be. I did I interviewed here's my best answer to that. I interviewed Buffalo Wild Wings franchisee, and that was a really good interview. Huh, Caleb? When is that going to get released, buddy? Caleb Garza.
Yes, I'm here. Actually, it was Noodles and Company, but
no. Buffalo Wild Wings franchisee had a disastrous start.
Yeah, that'll actually be next week.
So listen to that podcast next week. Very successful franchisee, disastrous start, real estate issue, too close to his current location, was losing massive amounts of money. So listen to that, and that will give you some insight into whether it's payroll, build out, cannibalizing your own customers from your number one, which was not good. So that will help you out with that, Rob. Approved vendors. Great franchisors have really good approved vendors. And there's going to be some franchisees that don't use approved vendors. And so you just have to make that choice. You can use those approved vendors, and they're not always going to be the best vendors. And sometimes they're amazing vendors, depends on the franchisor, and vendors change. And here's the thing with vendors, especially with digital marketing and things like that. They're only as good as their people that are working on your account specifically. So they might be great today and they might be horrible tomorrow. And I know this because I'm friends with people that are inside of that world, and that's what they tell me. A year or more of experience clearly teaches you a lot of what works and can be improved on. That is for sure. Guys, any
valid statement.
What's that?
That's a valid statement.
That's a valid statement. I love what Ryan said about going above and beyond. So do top franchisees follow the system? If you want to have a clickbaity Facebook group subject line, you say they never follow the system. But really the point of it is they go above and beyond, and the best franchisors go above and beyond by working with them to improve the system. That's how a lot of the famous things, the footlong with Subway, the Big Mac, it's because of that. When I was at some of my early franchises, there were sales systems and processes that came in because of a specific franchisee who's now a franchisor, but he brought in a specific sales process that he was doing in his locations. They brought him on and they paid him to create a whole training process for the franchisor, for their franchisees. So the best of the best franchisees go above and beyond the system, and so do the franchisors. Any last thoughts or comments, Ryan or Yoel?
I think with staffing is another big one is that your people don't work for the franchisor, they work for you. So, you have to have your own, you have to have your own company value. There's the corporate values, but then you have to have your own stuff. You have to be the reason why they're working there is for you. So there's so much stuff that's localized, going back to the question we had earlier, 60K enough, totally depends where you live too. Right. So I think you just have to keep that in mind, that the corporate can only do so much when they're talking about a broad scale. There's going to be a lot of decisions that are going to have to be different when you're talking at the local level.
Yeah. Most of the time that a salary is based upon where the corporate is located. So if they're located in California, that's going to be exaggerated if you're, in Alabama. It's just not the same business. So, I definitely pay attention to where it's coming from.
So here's kind of the thing. If you're crushing it in your business, you're happy. The franchisor may be good or bad. If you're doing well, doesn't matter. You're really happy. Like Sean Goldsmith, across the pond over there, said, my experience, great franchisees are often ones that come in well capitalized with a growth mindset. They consistently invest in their marketing. And that is true. That goes back to before you buy a franchise, guys. You've got to come in well capitalized. I love that comment, and it's absolutely true. I was actually talking to someone today that was thinking about joining the investor mastermind, and there's a certain amount of bleed that's happening in his business. And I said, that you just need to make sure that you have enough capital to make sure that you can get through what you need to with your current business before you look at investing or doing other things. So you've got to be well capitalized.
But I don't want to shy away the people that are not well capitalized, because I was not well capitalized when I went into the business. We just worked our ass off, and we made it happen. We followed the system until we found areas where we could make better, and that's how we.
There's a lot of us that get that. That's a good point.
I think being well capitalized in marketing is a method to get to the main point, right? It's one of the ways. But going back to my original post, I said that the three things that really set apart the top franchisees were sales, who's selling the most, right? That's revenue. Your staffing and internal development. Are you able to develop people, develop general managers, assistant managers, and have a good development program? And then also retention, both retention of members or repeat business and retention of staff.
Yep, 100%.
If you're doing those three things, you're a top person, right? So being well capitalized in marketing can lead to more sales, but that's, I don't think, the end goal there.
All right, we got another question that just came in. Caleb, you're slacking, buddy. I can't see him on the text. That just came in, so that's why I saw it. About franchisors that cannot keep up with growth of top franchisees. I would say that's normal. That's completely normal. Franchisors, a lot of them don't pay enough attention to their top franchisees. And when they do, it's a gold mine for them. Top franchise companies with top franchisees are providing special training for them, bringing them out to the corporate office to do special things for them and to learn from them, facilitating them being around each other. That's what the best franchisors do. But it's a common thing, because a franchisor is having to help the bottom people get to the middle and keeping those middle people happy, and the cream just rises to the top. So that's part of franchising.
Here's the thing. The franchisor is not necessarily the smartest person in the room, right? So some franchisees can come in that are a lot smarter and can build that business a lot bigger than whatever the franchisor thought it could be. And that's great for the franchisor. So don't take it as as an enemy, but take it as an ally in that system, and learn from them and grow from there.
So if you're a top franchisor, guys, for both Ryan and Yoel, if you're a top franchisor, and let's say there's 5 other top franchisors, what would you do to help the franchisor, top franchisees? What would you do to help the franchisor help you? What would you do?
I mean, just be open to what we're doing, and not try to fight us at every step. I think that's a big light bulb in their head, where they can actually say, these people might be doing stuff better than what we started with. So let's move in that direction and try to move the entire group in that direction.
Ryan?
Yeah, if you're a top franchisee and you're sharing, I think it's making sure you can decipher what's individual, what's duplicatable, and what's not, that you can share. Because when you start sharing the things that aren't necessarily duplicatable, then the franchisor is like, nah, and all of a sudden they build this wall, and they're not going to listen to any of your ideas at that point. So, and you need to know too, because sometimes business owners, it's like we put out a 1 weekend special and get a bunch of sales. We're like, oh, that's the answer. And it might necessarily have been that. So I think knowing what you're doing, what's really moving the needle, and then sharing the things that are helpful for everybody, not just these crazy, wild one-off ideas that you get from time to time.
Yep. So takeaways, franchisors, listen to your top franchisees, provide that vehicle to have that really good communication. Just listen to them, find out what they're doing, send someone to their location to understand what they're doing, and just go in with a mindset to learn. Franchisees, do the same with the franchisor. Don't come in guns a-blazing, but just say, hey, we're thinking about trying some new things. We're doing this. We seem to have some traction. I don't want to be talking to too many franchisees about this, because I want them to follow the system that you have for them. How can we help improve the system together? And the more collaboration, the better. But guys, I said 15 minutes. We're already 5 minutes after that. You guys have been on the mastermind forever before that. So I appreciate both of you. And if you guys listening want more of these, just let us know, and I'll start doing some more of these from time to time. Put them in the comment. If you listen to this on the replay, hit replay so we know that you listen to it on the replay. All right, gents.
Join the group.
And then Rachel, you can't even see her, but she was dropping some serious knowledge and fire in the mastermind today.
Raquel, man.
Raquel, did I say Rachel?
You did for the 16th time.
Yeah.
Well, my excuse is there's no excuse except for my Zoom is right over her name. All right, Raquel, that was for you. I hope you're listening. See you guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.